Last year the garden got a little bit out of control, so I planted things differently this year. I thought I would make a video now at the beginning of the year so you can see what I did, and then I'll make a video later on in the season just to see if what I did helped with the garden. Hopefully it won't be the complete and utter chaos that it was last year. So let's just take a look around. Last year I had planted climbing beans all along this front section of the fence, and it wasn't really intentional. I had just harvested everything that I had planted the year before, saved the seeds, and threw them all in this huge plot. Unfortunately, a lot of those seeds were climbing beans, and while that's a great concept, it isn't so great when you mix them in with bush beans. So this year I chose to not put beans in this plot, rather make a much bigger space in between the plots, as you can see. And we put tomato plants all along this fence in front of a stock panel. I don't know if you can see that, but that paneling is not part of the fence. So as the tomato plants grow, we will attach them with something soft, like maybe old pantyhose or just something to help the plants be supported. Left quite a big path along here. And in this space, we put Swiss chard. You can see the baby Swiss chard coming up. And then what will grow along this stock panel, which was previously tomatoes, is cucumbers. So I'm trying to make use of all the space that we do have while leaving bigger pathways. In the past, I've been really notorious for putting a lot of food in the garden but not leaving much walking space, and while I don't mind tripping around plants, no one else likes it that much. So what happens is, by the end of the season, I am the only one that's willing to go out into the garden, and it's a lot of work for one person. Also, along this same stretch, I planted pepper plants. And I toned it way down this year. Usually I go crazy planting more than we will ever get to. So I just planted 3. I planted some bells and a jalapeno. Look, you can see you actually have a bell pepper growing there. Sweet! In this little section I planted some onions. And I see a lot of weeding that needs to be done, but I'm not too stressed about it. Over here I have some squash, just some summer squash, no winter squash planted this year. I still have butternut squash in the basement that no one is eating, so I just decided to go with the summer squash. And I have my carrots. Along this fence I planted asparagus. It's the first year I've ever done that, so I'm hoping that it'll come up and we'll be eating asparagus soon. Well, soon as in the next couple of years, right? Along this section, on the back side of the fence where the tomatoes used to stand, I've planted okra. And of course the cucumbers will climb up this fence anyway, so hopefully this will all work very well. Every year is a big experiment for me, and that's one of the things I really love about gardening. And as you can see, I have potato plants, which is the first time in ages that I've grown potato plants. Most of these are actually from sprouted potatoes that were in my pantry. I did buy a few seed potatoes, but not much. They are looking good to me so far, so we'll see how they do. And then of course I have the occasional volunteer marigold plants that are coming up, which are pretty great for keeping away some pests. And dill, just kind of growing randomly. I don't really even bother to plant those things anymore because they just pop up through the garden. I also planted onions. Hopefully we'll get a good onion crop. Probably not nearly what we eat, but my theme this year is to, cut back a little, because My personality is such that I kind of go crazy with it, and then we have more food than we're using, and stuff just sits in the garden and rots, which is a shame. Okay, back to the green beans. So at the end of the season, when it was too overwhelming to pick everything, I just saved seeds. I let them dry on the vine, and I only saved the climbing beans because I really do love the climbers. They go up and they save space. So what previously held all those butternut squashes that my family is still not eating very enthusiastically are green beans. I planted 2 rows, one on each side of the fencing, and then on this back structure I did the same thing. I think I have about 200 plants, maybe more, probably more knowing me, and my hope is that they will climb up this structure and the green bean issue will be a non-issue, that they will just fill the space up and it will be so easy to come in and pick, and everyone will be happy, and I can send my children out to pick, and there will be no complaining. So that's my fantasy world, of course. Ha. So anyway, I think that pretty much covers the garden. I will be sure and post some updates as we go along. The compost bins are still here and kind of cooking, and we're not very particular about how we do the compost bins. They just break down over time. But, you know, lazy gardener here. Still works. We still have a garden. We still eat from it. Anyway, get out and enjoy the weather. I'd love to see pictures of your garden, see how you're doing it. Thanks for watching.